it's a very welcome run-up to Paris, which Delhi has organized over a period of time. Several programs which will culminate into all of us descending in Paris in the next 2 days. Hopefully, to arrive at a doable, workable, at the same time very relevant action plan. I was very recently, 2 days ago, the Honorable Minister of France and the Chief Negotiator in Vienna. They had called on me and then we discussed. And I was saying it should be what we are hoping in Paris. It should be ambitious enough, but at the same time something which is actually doable. Because otherwise what has happened in the past is we have attempted to do several things but not been able to put that into reality. So on one hand, the science as proved by IPCC has already concluded that we really need to reduce significant load of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere and not allow the temperature to rise below 2 degrees centigrade. We are already suffering the adverse consequences of inaction or wrong action of the past. And therefore, this is something very urgent. But at the same time, the urgency does not necessarily mean taking on commitments which we cannot fulfill. At the same time, not to take commitment which will be commensurate with the challenge that we are facing is also not right. So I think we really need to strike a balance in Paris in the most appropriate way. And therefore, I think we should try to work on that. I know today we are discussing about the CEOs, what they should be doing. And in Indian context, we really therefore, in our own interest, have to change the course of our several economic activities, particularly in the energy sector, also in the transportation sector, and also in a significant way in the manufacturing sector. But to begin with, energy is a very important area, one of the principal cause of emission anyway, and therefore changing that would mean we would be actually taking a really a very sensible path. And to do that, not just because of climate change, but also because of several other economic reasons. To import everything that we are doing as we are doing today. Today we don't realize it because the oil prices have come down to less than $50. But as, if not 2016, maybe hopefully 17, 18, something will happen. Prices go up, and then we'll be again trying to think about what should have been done. Rather than that, why not we plan a strategy which is long-term, sustainable, doable, and in our own interest as well as in the interest of the global community. And there the changing energy mix is extremely important. Luckily, we are already committed to take 100,000 megawatts of solar, another 70,000 megawatts of wind. That's a very significant numbers. And I think we must all work towards getting those numbers into reality, into the mainstream grid or into the distributed generation. The second component of energy is also energy conservation. And there again we are making significant progress. I know when I had the good fortune of making this as a law, and then Ajay was till recently the Bureau of Energy Efficiency head. So that is something which is also moving in a very significant way. The third element is something where the energy is used. I think one is the energy generation, the electricity generation. But the second part is where to use the energy. And there again, I think buildings will play a significant role, which is also part of conservation, but more so of part of demand side management, changing the type of electricity bulbs we use. And there again, the government of India has done a significant progress in terms of LED and others. The third, so on energy, we'll have to do many of these things. We also have to look at energy is used for agriculture. The electricity, significant electricity is used for agriculture, particularly for drawing water and agriculture pumps. There again, there is a terrific scope for saving there. But this is one basket. Second important basket, and therefore I am concerned with, is the transportation. And as we can see, the huge emission which Delhi keeps putting the board and tries to tell us about how much is the load in the atmosphere of various types of gases, including NOx and others, is because of transportation. The type of city transportation we are trying to develop is significantly causing this type of emission. So we must move towards public transportation in a significant way. And to move towards public transportation, we really need to bring in higher amount of railway network into this. And therefore railways in any case will be a significant improvement over road transportation. But we decided that only railways becoming better because of just comparing with road is not enough. We should try to do a better job. So we are trying to use the energy mix of railway itself. And therefore we are going in for a big solar program. We are also going for a wind generation. In fact, in Rajasthan, in Jaisalmer, we launched our major wind turbine project, which is already ready. I have to go and commission it. Also, we had a very recently, only 2-3 days back, in Mumbai, a major program of how to generate wind. We are tied up with UNDP and many others. And therefore, changing energy mix is one part. Converting waste into energy is something which we are trying to do. 2 projects are already underway. Also, we are trying to do something which is changing, again, the lighting, putting solar panels on buildings. Also, on a very trial basis, putting solar panels on the top of the coach itself, which will again, of course, this is too early, but some work needs to be done, much more work needs to be done. But this is another way of looking at it. Now, if you can do this, this would bring in the electricity generation, the transportation, the agriculture, and all of this would really significantly improve it. But still, we need to find out the ways of improving our manufacturing, particularly when we have decided to use now our Prime Minister's ambitious program of Make in India. That means we'll have to find out how do you manufacture more by using less energy. And therefore, an overall macro level issue is we already decided to reduce our carbon intensity. And we'll actually make sure that despite the GDP going up, the carbon footprint will not increase in that proportion. So therefore, this is something which will begin, but still, there are some sectors of manufacturing which needs huge improvement in energy use. And though we will have overall carbon intensity going down, still improving sectoral efficiency of manufacturing will be an extremely important issue. And therefore, we really need to set standards. I think we have started working on that, but also try to find out how do you bring in more competition among the manufacturing sector. Of course, over a period of time, energy saving is a market necessity. You cannot be producing more and incur higher cost of energy and will not be able to sell that in the marketplace, will not work. So therefore, that's one parameter of deciding how your energy usage will go down. But I think still we need to work on some parameters and try to improve the efficiency in a significant way. I'm sure in service sector as well, which we normally think that manufacturing alone is responsible for the emissions. Service sector has a significant higher footprint also on the carbon. So I think the service sector itself should also try to make significant changes. And when we talk about green growth, it is not just in terms of emission reduction itself. It's also in terms of, and that too, the energy is not the only source. We really look at many other natural resources, like water. How do you use less water? I think there is one good example is what ITC has done. They try to not only recycle the whole water, but also try to create more water than what they use. So they're water positive than becoming water negative. So this is the one service sector example. Same way, the IT industry, which use so much of electricity. They produce so much of electronic waste, which will have to be somehow, we'll have to deal with that situation one day. How do you deal with electronic waste? That's also part of a sustainable development issue. And therefore, I think we'll have to look into service sector as well, along with manufacturing and agriculture, and find out how they would also have a growth path which will be sustainable and which will not create any adverse impact on the environment. So I think if we do all this, we have a great opportunity, because unlike China, which may be 5 times of India's economy, but still they have created a huge baggage. I don't know, they will have to now use a lot of the resources to deal with the past issues. We luckily, though 1/5 of China in terms of output, are still lucky to chart out a path which may avoid the mistakes of China and others, and still can grow faster. So this is something which has been proved over a period of time, that growth does not necessarily mean that we have to emit more. Growth does not necessarily mean that you have to take, environment has to take a toll. It is all possible to do it, and therefore there is a great opportunity here. I am sure TERI has been working on this for a long time. Green Growth Institute is something which is also leading along with the TERI. So both of you together, I am sure you will be able to work out a path which will be mainstream into so many of our economic decision-making activities. I think, luckily, thanks to the effort of Dr. Pachuri, TERI of so many years, we have now got a great awareness in the country about a need to act and act fast. And therefore, this is something very good that we can work on this platform of having a good awareness. The industry also itself is trying to offer their own ideas and suggestions. I was chairing a jury of CII, jury on sustainability awards. I was very pleasantly surprised that companies were vying with each other to say that we are doing better job on environment. That's something which is a very good thing. That voluntary compliance is the best thing that can happen, rather than enforcement coming from regulation. Regulation should only set the bar. If you can do voluntary compliance and the industry can come out with their own standards and also self-regulatory mechanism, that will be the best thing that will happen. And one of the ways to understand this process is giving these awards, which we have been giving for so many years. So I'm sure in the next few years' time, you'll be able to work on a very good path. I'm very happy that the agenda is very clear and we move forward. And this is not something though concerning India. I can see some of my friends from other countries. So what is true for India is also true for many other countries. So when we speak, we are not just speaking for ourselves, though we will implement for ourselves, but we like to share the ideas, the knowledge, experience with all our friends from Africa and other emerging markets. And we had 54 countries from Africa visiting India only 3 weeks ago. And our Prime Minister had one-on-one meeting with all the heads of state. Our Foreign Minister met all 54 Foreign Ministers, they're all here. And this was a very unusual event in which all the entire Africa was here. And I know Africa was connected to India some billions of years ago. So I think we are connected physically at that time, but our bond, emotional bond is still very strong. So I think that's how we keep meeting and trying to do something together. So all our experience and knowledge of green growth, of doing a sustainable development path, will be also sharing with all our friends from the developing countries so that they should also benefit. It's a co-benefit issue. We benefit, but along with that, you also benefit. We have 1.25 billion people, there are 1 billion people in Africa, and if they can grow faster, with 12 times of India's land size, so I think we can really make a huge difference to the world. So looking forward to that. Congratulations to all of you. I think in the next few minutes, we'll also be signing an MOU. Actually, the railways have partnered with a lot of research, education and engineering institutes in the country, with IITs, with universities like Mumbai University, with TERI, to do some exceptionally necessary research on some of the very critical and crucial and relevant areas. So like for example with BHU, IIT BHU, we are trying to do research on material science. People don't realize the importance, and that's a sustainable issue again, because if you don't have the material, what are you going to produce? You cannot produce everything from air. So we really need to find out how do you have a material efficiency into the whole system. And that will also decide what materials you are going to use. And we have seen a very big standoff between China and Japan when the rare earths were not supplied to Japan for some time, and then suddenly Japanese industry woke up to a reality that without that nothing can be done. We cannot prepare a chip, and if you don't prepare a chip, nothing will operate. And that's why we really need to look at materials. So we are going to sign this. The member staff is, my colleague is here, they will sign with TERI. I am sure the signing ceremony will also be on in the next few minutes, which will again bring in the necessity of tying up with institutions of excellence for the benefit of a transporter like railways. I think that's what we really need to develop in India. We have in US a research triangle in North Carolina. We really need to bring in industry, government and education together. I think that's something we have already started doing with many other universities and institutions. And we are very happy that we are partnering with TERI also today. Thank you very much.